Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of Life Without Limits, where there are truly no limits to how much you can succeed. My name is Joan Kaler. I'm your host, and I am a consultant, a licensed counselor, an instructor. So if you have any problems with anxiety, depression, OCD, hair pulling, whatever your situation might be around the world or in Pennsylvania, I am honored to help you. Just go to joankaler.com for more information. Now, today's show, I am stepping, you already know that I am outside the box. Well, I'm taking another 2 steps outside the box because my guest today is a writer and expert in I'm going to say women of wisdom. So ladies, be prepared for a treat because my guest, Stephanie Raffelock, is an amazing woman that talks about what it's like to grow in wisdom in the second half of our life. It's just incredible what she knows about life and how beautifully she writes about it. So I am going to give you a little history of Stephanie because I think it's so important for you to know how talented this woman is. Okay, here we go. Stephanie Raffelock is a graduate of, I hope I pronounced this correctly, Stephanie, Naropa University's program in writing and poetics, and has penned articles for numerous publications, including the Aspen Times, the Rogue Valley Messenger, Nexus Magazine, Omaha Lifestyles, Care2.com, and 60andme.com. I told you I have an expert today. She's also the host for Coffee Table Wisdom, a program that promotes healthy aging in body, mind, and spirit. She is a recent transplant to Austin, Texas. Woo! She enjoys life with her husband, Dean, and their Labrador Retriever, Jeter. Yes, he is named after the great Yankee shortstop. Stephanie lives an active life of hiking, Pilates, and swimming, trying to offset the amount of time she spends in her head thinking up stories and essays. I'm telling you, she is so fantastic. So, Stephanie, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome in.
Thank you so much, Joan. I'm delighted to be here. And that was quite the introduction. Thank you.
Well, I want everybody to know how special you are. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling better already after reading your bio and your website. So here we are, and I hope I'm growing in wisdom in the second half here.
Oh, man, I think women of midlife onward are the epitome of wisdom. You know that like in 2016, more women over the age of 50 ran for political office, local levels, state levels, national levels. And I feel like there's this big message. And part of it is, okay, you guys have made a mess. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. And we are not of our parents' generation. We are not going gently into that good night. There is a surge of creativity that's happening with midlife women and beyond that is allowing us to grow in wisdom and share that wisdom and become a more integrated part of our culture. It's a great time to be a woman. It's a great time to be an older woman.
Yes! Woo! That's what I tell my clients. I said, look, I've been around for a while. This isn't my first, pardon the pun here, since you're in Texas, this isn't my first rodeo.
Right.
But being the second half of life, I found such joy. And as you mentioned in your book and in your blog, creativity.
Yeah, there's a surge of it. So I think something happens with menopause.
Okay.
I think those hormones kind of change around, and it's like the ship has sailed. You're not going to make babies anymore. but something takes its place, and it's still the creative process. Only now it's mental, and it's of heart, and it's of spirit. And women that give themselves to that, I think, have a happier aging.
I agree.
And when I say art and creativity, I'm not talking about necessarily making things, although a lot of women are painters and writers and, master gardeners at this age. I'm talking about living life as an art, living life as poetry.
Beautiful.
Here's my favorite definition of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
What poetry does is it takes the ordinary and it reveals the extraordinary. And that's what this part of life does, is that within the ordinary, there is extraordinary, like every moment. And I think that's part of what makes us wise. Yeah.
I certainly hope so. Yes. One of the things that I teach my clients about too is in energy healing and the chakras, the second chakra is all about creativity.
Uh-huh.
So whatever happens in one's life, whatever stage of life one is in, and we're talking about after menopause, and we're talking about over 50, 60, 70. I read an article yesterday on Facebook about a woman who's 102, and she started painting when she was 85. She's in the UK. She was saying, after my husband died, I really began to be creative because he always used to criticize me. And I'm thinking, well, ladies, you don't have to wait for your partner to die. You can be creative right now.
Right.
Goodness gracious. But I thought, how marvelous. I would like to be like her when I grow up someday.
Yeah.
To still be creative at 102, God willing.
And grow up is it's an operative term. I mean, we think that, we're grown and we have it together, but the truth is human development goes on till the day we die.
Absolutely.
It's like, the psycho-spiritual development is so rich at this time in one's life.
Oh, wow. Geez, I want to share this podcast with my professors at Duquesne University when they talk about family systems. This is extraordinary. Wow. Stephanie, you talk about wanting everyone to know that aging is a remarkable and noble passage. Absolutely. Tell us about what you have discovered so far.
Well, remarkable in terms that, first of all, to have lived this long is pretty wonderful. A lot of our friends didn't make it this far. Mm-hmm. Remarkable in that there is a kind of psychic shift in one's makeup at this age. And I hear friends my age say it all the time. I've become more grateful.
Oh, yes.
More appreciative of the world. There's something about knowing that the life that's in front of you left to live is much shorter than the life that you've already lived. So in a way, it makes life more precious, and it makes the desire to live that life fully engaged even more urgent. Because this is like the third chapter. And, the third chapter in a play is like, well, that's the place where all the good stuff happens. That's the place where the transformation happens. And so you sometimes hear people say, yeah, my mom got more mellow as she got older, or she became more at peace with herself. And it's true, because you're in this time when it's like, I've only got this much time left. I've already lived the bulk of my life. Mm-hmm. How remarkable that we give ourselves to things like creativity, to a path of gratitude, to a path of kindness. It's a remarkable time. And we continue to grow and evolve spiritually and psychologically.
Beautiful. Yes. I tell people, I'm in my late 60s now, and I tell people, I just learned how to podcast 2 years ago.
Right.
I'm just getting started.
Right.
I'm so curious. I want to know what the world's about. I want to know what people are about. Since I am a healer, I want to know, well, how did this happen in the first place? Let's get to the root of the problem. I love curiosity.
Boy, and curiosity, what a great quality that is. To remain curious and open and always want to learn something. I think we should learn something new every single day. And it's part of what adds to the attitude of aging well.
Yes.
So there's this remarkable component that we talk about.
Okay.
But then there's this noble component that we talk about. And that's the part that I think we need to reclaim and stand in the light of that nobility in this age, because advertising has corrupted us. You know, we'd like to think that we're not vulnerable to the cultural messages that we hear from advertising, but we are. And so somewhere along the way, almost imperceptibly, something shifted from being the target of advertising from a company that says, buy this bicycle or buy these roller skates or buy these cute workout clothes. And we became the target of, you're going to need to wear something around your neck, life alert, in case you fall.
I know. Oh, I
know. Need, you know, this drug, and if you get the flu shot, make sure it's 4 times stronger than all the other shots out there. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've become an object of care. So if one is working on one's attitude and one has good relationships, the aging well part unfolds, and there is a nobility to it. There is a nobility to being older, to gathering wisdom to oneself, to sharing that wisdom in the world. I want to share with you,
please,
a person that is a hero in my life. I want to share with your listeners because a lot of people don't know who she is. There's a woman named Maggie Kuhn, Kuhn. Google her. You will fall in love with her. Maggie Kuhn is no longer with us. I think she died maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But Maggie Kuhn was in the 60s working as a church secretary. And the law of the land was, when you worked for a company, mandatory retirement, age 65, no excuses. And she said, wait a second, I'm not ready to retire. So she started to become an activist. And I think she'd been an activist most of her life. Here's what she did with her activism. During that time was the Vietnam War. And there were protests and there was activism all over college campuses in America. So Maggie Kuhn went to colleges and she united with young people because she said, I'm an older woman. I have dealt with logistics my whole life. I have all these older friends that are dealing with logistics, and you're young people and you're trying to do this. Let me help you. She really merged this kind of intergenerational activism. We see it now. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. I don't like to talk politics, but we see it now with Bernie Sanders. Here's this older guy and you go, how did all these young people get involved with this older dude? Well, the thing is, it's the perfect intergenerational activism. The older guy with the wisdom and the younger people with the vision. And so that's what Maggie Kuhn was all about. She wrote, she lectured till really the day she died, I think. She's a remarkable woman. She stood in the light of nobility. How can you not see the nobility in someone like that? And that's what our generation of aging boomers needs to reclaim. I am not an object of your care. I am going through a remarkable and noble passage. I am growing psychologically and spiritually. And I set an example for what it's like to live a path of gratitude. So there's that.
Beautiful. That is fabulous. Oh, I love it. Someday when I come down to Texas, we're going to meet in person.
Let's do it.
I'm setting that intention.
We'll go cowboy dancing.
Ooh! All right. I so hear that because it's funny. I am on just a couple of medications. So whenever I go into my drugstore, because I don't get the 90-day supply, I go into a real drugstore. And as soon as I start to pay for it, they go, would you like this vaccine? No. Oh, I see by your birth date you're due for this vaccine. No, thank you. Would you like that vaccine? No, thank you. I don't want any vaccines.
Right.
Just give me the medicine that I came in for. Thank you very much. I don't need any flu shots. I don't need any vaccines. All I want is the medication. And then all the stuff on TV about, as you say, oh, what if I fall? What if this? What if that? Well, guess what? I continue to move. I am grateful. I am happy. I am curious. I take lots of fish oil. The world who listens to my podcast know that I'm a fish oil junkie. I go to the gym, and I am so looking forward to this time of my life. I'm in it. I embrace it. I enjoy it. And my heart is filled with gratitude and compassion. And then the other part of me is, don't mess with me, so that
get out of my way.
Get out of my way. If you have not a different opinion, but if you even think about doing something that doesn't work or being dishonest with me, my glasses are going to the end of my nose, and let's step outside.
Yeah.
So I have that I don't care what people think attitude anymore. I am here to help people, to deliver wisdom through my podcast, motivation, inspiration. And, if you don't like it, fine, just go somewhere else. But nobody messes with me.
Well,
Being as I'm a Leo the lion, nobody messes with me.
It's always good to be a badass granny, I say.
I like that. Whoa.
Yeah, I do too. It's kind of sassy. Can we back up a little bit to the
Absolutely.
prescription thing? Because I was thinking about this the other day. Usually by the time you're my age, and I'm going to be 68 in the spring, you're on a couple of medications. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to keep medications at a minimum, number one, because you can slide down a rabbit hole. And number two, I think it's important to know that for all the good attitude, the bounce back factor of these years, well, it's like an old pair of pants. The elastic wears out. You just don't, it doesn't spring back the way it used to. So the bounce back factor is less. That means that if you get into a pain situation with inflammation or whatnot, if you're taking fish oils, that certainly helps that's an anti-inflammatory. But we're more susceptible and more vulnerable to wanting to get rid of pain and therefore go a prescriptive route. Now, we can see what's happening in the country right now, that we've got parts of the country that are dealing with horrible, horrible opioid addiction.
Yes.
Because pain meds we overwrote those prescriptions for people. And we didn't take into account that, hey, people get addicted to opioids. So I think it's important to acknowledge pain. I think it's important to acknowledge the bounce back factor is less. And I think it's important to explore the pain alternatives that are available to us in the culture. The American Medical Association and Big Pharma has done a really good job of discrediting naturopaths, chiropractors, acupuncturists, who are sometimes the first line of defense for breaking the pain pattern that you can fall into at this age.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to just do a quick disclaimer here, Stephanie.
Yes.
In that we are not advocating that you go off any medication.
No, not at all.
Healthcare provider and doctor if you have any medical issues. I just have to throw that in there.
No, and I
totally
agree with that. And modern medicine, there's a time and a place. And boy, if I fall down and break something, there's no place I want to be except a really good emergency room. That's where modern medicine shines. It's also a time where I advocate for modern medicine and what we call alternative to merge, because I think then the patient has got a bigger toolbox of things to choose from. So I just a cautionary tale. It's easy when you're in pain to go, give me something for this. And there are some other alternatives out there.
Absolutely. You bring to mind one of my first podcasts that I did a couple of years ago with Dr. Wayne Jonas. He's the author of How Healing Works. And he brings integrative medicine in. He teaches physicians how to combine complementary and alternative healing with traditional allopathic medicine. And I was so blessed to have him on my podcast. So y'all that are listening out there, just go to iTunes where you have your audio, go to YouTube where I have the video, and keep scrolling down under Life Without Limits, and you will find the interview with Dr. Jonas. But hey, I am the queen of complementary and alternative medicine in Pennsylvania.
Right on.
Believe me, and I so believe in it. My sorrow is that Medicare doesn't recognize these.
Well, I think that time is changing. And here's why I think it's changing. Because of the opioid addiction.
Okay.
I think that people's minds are opening and going, geez, maybe we, set chiropractic and acupuncture and naturopathy on the back burner a little too soon. And maybe we should be paying for people to get this type of relief because it's non-addictive care.
Thank you. Do you think it's going to happen, Stephanie? Because that's the thing that I get when I talk to older people, because I'm not even in the Medicare Act as a licensed counselor. So if somebody is on Medicare, they pay me out of pocket. Well, that's another issue. But I'm sorry, what?
I'm an optimist.
I'm an optimist.
I think that eventually, and I can't say when, but I think that eventually that things will unfold, that there is modern medicine and there are all the complementary things that go with it. And it's not limited.
I'm going to get on that horse with you, Stephanie. I certainly hope so, because actually it's going to save money along with the opioid crisis and decreasing dependence and addiction to opioids. It's going to save money. The person is going to get relief in a non-addictive way, because, oh boy, I have on my healthcare team, I have a functional physician, I have a doctor of Qigong medicine, I have a chiropractor. So I bring them all together. When I have a question, I ask each one of them, what is your recommendation? And then I make my decision based on what they suggest, because for me, they're my experts. They know everything.
And that is proactive healthcare at its best.
Yes. But thank you for bringing that up. Ooh, we could talk for hours about. Please, ladies and gentlemen, everybody that's listening and watching, consider, if you are, and I hope you're not, I truly do hope you're not, but if you are in pain, the simple, so I'm not going to just be facetious and sit here and say drink more water, although that's very helpful, but please consider Reiki, massage therapy, acupuncture. Find a natural path. In many states now, naturopaths are licensed, and some can take insurance, but you have to be your best advocate. You have to do your research and advocate for yourself, because nobody's just going to say, hey, have you tried this? You have to ask the questions. Yep. Oh my gosh. Well, everyone, guess what? This is fascinating, and we are not done yet with Miss Stephanie. So I want you all to stay tuned for part 2, which is coming up here, and we are going to talk more about the aging process and being noble and creative in the second half, or even the last third of life. It's definitely possible. Hold that thought, everybody. We'll be right back.